comedians really, they'll just talk shit on a podcast or they'll pretend like, me and Rogan and everybody in Austin's a bunch of Nazis and all. You just have to agree with everything they say or you're not part of the club and all this crap. Being a Trumper isn't, what you're calling a Trumper isn't that crazy. I mean, he did win the popular vote.
That doesn't mean it's not crazy. That does not. Those two things are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so for those of you who don't know by now, Tony Hinchcliffe just appeared on the latest episode of Bill Maher's podcast, Club Random. And right away you could tell Tony came in with only one goal, to impress Bill Maher. But the interview quickly went off the rails as Bill Maher realized that Tony's a hardcore Trump supporter.
You should tell me, I'm very curious, your reputation now is as a right winger because you did the Trump rally and told the Puerto Rico joke, which is a great joke.
When I got there, I go, when am I going up in this thing? And they go, you're up first. Can you imagine?
Oh, you opened for the Trump rally.
I went up after the goddamn national anthem.
But did you do it because you're a supporter of Trump or just because it's an opportunity and a paycheck? Was it a paycheck?
No, it wasn't a paycheck. I did it literally to hopefully, get some... Hopefully, if only 10,000, not to mention 100,000, maybe 200 if we're lucky, actual people to vote for him. Yeah.
Oh, so you did want people to vote for Trump?
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay.
I think he gets a weird rap in this world, man. And,
we're going to have to break off on that point. My thing, I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's okay that we disagree on that. I just didn't really know until this moment I thought maybe you just were doing it for a gig and because you believe in free speech, but you're not really a Trumper. But,
So upon realizing that Bill Maher isn't exactly vibing with his political worldview, and maybe even looking down on him for it, Tony Hinchcliffe suddenly goes into full-blown damage control mode. And in Tony's case, that means pulling out the wildest, most revisionist spin you could imagine. Because with a straight face, Tony tries to argue that he, Joe Rogan, and even Elon Musk are not far-right figures, which Bill Maher immediately shuts down.
And this is the thing, because I would argue that we're more center than left or right. I think you'd probably be shocked to know how at least from my perception, centrist we are. I've been watching you for my whole life, by the way. My mom always made sure we had HBO, even though I was raised poor. So I kind of get you, and it's crazy that I'm considered a right-winger, or that Rogan is, or that Elon is, and these people.
Anybody who is a Trumper, it's a different mindset that he'd have to be extremely different to get me over there.
Right.
And he knows that. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just way too insane and too far out.
So as you just saw here, Bill Maher did not let that nonsense go unchecked. And that's where the tone of the whole conversation changes. Because you see, Tony thought Maher was going to embrace him. He thought they were going to fist bump over hating cancel culture and ride off into the sunset as edgy truth tellers. But instead, Maher drew a line with Tony, basically saying, you can be a Trump guy, that's fine, but don't sit here and act like that isn't what you are.
Okay, but
being a Trumper isn't, what you're calling a Trumper isn't that crazy. I mean, he did win the popular vote.
That doesn't mean it's not crazy. That does not, those two things are not, okay.
Right.
That's fine. Look, you've been talking to me for an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Do I seem like a guy who hates you because you voted?
No, and I'm the same way.
And I never will be.
That's why I think you're... Believe it or not,
whatever you're going to say, I am.
I think you're...
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
I am. I'm center left.
I am too, believe it or not.
I am, I am center left. To me, a Trumper is far right. There are old school Republicans. They are hiding right now, but they do exist. That's center right. Trump is different.
And this is where it gets kind of sad, because you can actually see Tony start to squirm, because he realized that Maher's not buying it, and now he's desperate to claw his way back into the man's approval. So Tony doubles down, saying again that he, Rogan, Elon, and Trump are all centrists, as if repeating it enough times will make it true. But Maher, again, is not biting.
And since I moved to Texas.
Oh, because you're not in LA. But
exactly.
but you're in LA sometimes.
Sometimes. But what I've learned is that, especially after the rally election debacle and everything, is that the farther left, even though they don't make it their identity or maybe talk about it on stage or whatever, the farther left people, comedians really, they'll just talk shit on a podcast, or they'll pretend like, me and Rogan and everybody in Austin's a bunch of Nazis and all. You just have to agree with everything they say or you're not part of the club and all this crap. Meanwhile, again, it's like we're all pot-smoking, pro-choice. If you're going to call us far-right crazy people, you have to realize we're all formerly registered Democrat voters, and so is Rogan, and so is Elon, and so is Trump. All these people are famously old Democrats.
Okay, but that's not where we are now. They're not Democrats now. And I understand why the Democratic Party gives them the heebie-jeebies. That's different than being all in on Trump, which they are.
Then Bill goes on to clown Tony a little. He points out that he actually got a sit-down dinner with Trump, while Tony, the guy who opened for Trump at a rally, didn't even get a handshake.
When I was going in to do that rally, the goal, it wasn't just to swing a few, 1,000 votes, hopefully, of whoever listens to my podcast or whoever liked my silly performance on the Tom Brady roast or whatever. It was also to fucking have the president go, "That was cool. Thanks, man. That's awesome. I liked your set. You got the crowd going." Which, by the way, I did. Of course, that room isn't mic'd for a comedy show. No, he didn't. I didn't get to talk to him that
day. Tony, you must feel so bad about that. You go and you're for him and you're working for him and you like him and me, nothing but vitriol for 10 years, and I get the invite.
Isn't it wild?
I mean, that one must have hit Tony right in the core. But Tony probably thought that Trump rally was his moment. Like he was going to roast the libs, kill with the crowd, and be welcomed into Mar-a-Lago with open arms. But according to Maher, Trump didn't even notice him. And to my delight, the awkwardness doesn't stop there. Later in the conversation, Maher casually asks Tony if he watched his latest comedy special. And Tony straight up says no.
But man, it was a game changer for me. The comedy specials absolutely 100% contributed.
My last one was the best. Have you seen my last one?
No.
Oh, I'm not going to watch yours till you watch mine.
Okay, deal.
And then Tony immediately tries to recover by saying that Maher's been his hero since he was a kid, and that he learned his politics from him, and that everything he believes today stems from watching Maher on TV.
Why didn't you watch my last one?
I don't watch anybody's specials on TV. I like seeing them live.
I can relate to that.
I see enough people live to where I like waiting.
But you would like my last one.
Oh, I'm positive I would. I'm not kissing your ass. I've been a fan forever. I mean, all my initial politics and everything of anything about politics was through you.
So just to recap here, Tony walks into Maher's podcast as a proud Trump guy, gets embarrassed for being a Trump guy, then pleads with Maher that he only became a Trump guy because of Bill Maher. I mean, that's got to be one of the weakest Uno reverse cards in podcast history. And at this point, Maher just flatly tells him, look, it doesn't matter if you're a Trumper or not. I'll still have you on my show, but stop trying to pretend you're something that you're not.
I don't want to pat myself on the back and say, no one else could do this. But I do want to ask the question, why can't anyone else do this? I just don't see that many people. Like just talking to somebody else who, yes, may be a Trumper, and just not seeing them as this monster who you can't talk to.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not going to convince you, and you're not going to convince me, and we just accept that.
Yeah.
And honestly, that moment kind of sums up the entire exchange. Because what makes this thing so painfully funny is that Tony isn't actually trying to argue his way out of being a Trump supporter. He's just trying to rebrand it. He's trying to soften the edges so he can still hang out with the cool, centrist comedians he grew up admiring. Guys like Bill Maher. So yeah, overall, this was probably the only interesting part of the whole podcast. The rest of it was just Bill Maher talking about himself in a dimly lit man cave, while Tony laughed a little too hard at his jokes and tried not to cry.
Well, I got great advice when I started, when I was complaining about a shitty crowd once.
Mm-hmm.
And a great comedian said to me, that's why they're here. Because they're not in a good mood. They came here for the medicine of laughter.
Wow. Do you remember who told you that?
Yeah, I didn't want to say because it sounds like name dropping.
Okay. Who was it?
Abraham Lincoln.
But seeing Tony realize in real time that the world now sees him as the Trump comic was honestly fascinating. Like, he tried so hard to pivot, reframe, and finesse his way back into being viewed as this edgy, centrist rebel, but the label's already stuck. But with that being said, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching. And let me know down in the comments what you thought of the podcast.